Around 80% of people want to write a book, and yet there's only around 1% of people who actually are authors. So you have this scenario where so many people want to write books, and you also have the scenario where people who have written books already want to write more books because that's a great strategy for growing your self-publishing brand. So that's why in this video, we're going to dive into the book writing process I've used to write 28 books to date. That will soon be 30 and above, but we're going to share with you that book writing process. So if you are struggling to write your first book, or you feel like you need some more fuel behind you so you get book number 2, 3, 4, 5 out, this is going to be a really great video for you. And we do help authors all the time on this channel. People want to gain more visibility, boost their revenue. So make sure you subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this one, and hit the notifications bell because it makes a really nice ring when you hit it. It's really soothing sound, actually. Anyway, let's get right into the video. So with the book writing process, the first thing you have to do, honestly though, before you think about the topic, because I feel like a lot of people, they have the idea for their book already, or they have a few different ideas. I think the thing that people don't really think about as much is how long do you want your book to be? Because the thing that really drags people away from writing their own book is they think of this as this ginormous thing they have to create. You think of a book like Tools of Titans, and you think that's the type of thing you have to come out with, and it's going to take years of research and all this work to come out with a book. But there are ways to quantify the work you have to do, and that's where the book writing process doesn't look as hard. So a common rule of thumb in the writing space is 250 words. Around that range gives you a page. For me, I don't know if this math is going to check out, but for me, 16,000 to 20,000 words for me gets me an 80 to 100 page book. Part of what factors into that is your spacing, your font size. I like to go for a 13 size font, and with good spacing, not double space, but definitely more than your usual, because I want to make my books easy for people to read and breeze through. And I don't want people having to take weeks to read one of my books, which is why I write the 80 to 100 page books, which people can more likely read in just one sitting. So knowing the word count that you have to go for, which is my goal is always somewhere between 16 to 20,000 words, it gives you an idea of how much work you have to do on your end each day to make the book happen. So let's say you do 16,000 words and you decide, okay, I could do 500 words each day. That's going to be less than 30 minutes. So 500 words each day, you repeat that over 32 days, and you have your 16,000 word book. That's just how math works. And if you break it down in that regard, rather than looking at this massive book that took a lot of research and feeling like that's going to be overwhelming, or it's going to be really hard to create your own book, this is where you break down the numbers. You realize it isn't so bad, especially when you break it down into daily things that you can do instead of thinking of where you are now to having this finished, published book. And yes, I do recommend a daily writing goal, even if it's just 500 words. You can pick some days where you do 1,000 words, 2,000 words, 3,000 words, whatever you want to do. But I like the idea of, progress every single day, even if it's really slow progress on some days. So like 500 words, I feel like it's very easy for people to crank out each day, or 250 words is especially easy for you to be doing that each day. And you just keep repeating that, but setting that as your base for each day. That's going to help you make daily progress for the book that it is you want to release. So now that we have a basic overview of the numbers behind it, let's get into book topic now. You want to pick a book topic that doesn't require too much research for you, because if you pick a topic you have no idea about and you picked it just because it's cool, hip, and trendy in the moment, that's going to be more research for you to know what you're supposed to say in the book. And then you have the issue of, is this even good content? And is this going to position you the way that you want it to position you? So my books, I position them from a standpoint of, I want to get more YouTube subscribers, which, by the way, hit the subscribe button. I do mention the YouTube channel in my books. I do mention my strategy calls in the books, which are also below in the description. I write books around areas that I could do presentations on at conferences. I write books based on, what I could turn into a training course. So the idea is that the book has a purpose, and I'm picking topics that best align with my expertise and what I can do with that book beyond just making book royalties, like turning it into a real business versus publishing a book and then that's it. And once you figure out your topic, and this is just going to be like the first topic, you don't want to go too narrow, but you don't want to go too broad either. Like a book about internet marketing, like you could go deeper into like a certain segment, like how I have one book behind me about YouTube, another book about podcasting. That's going deeper rather than just doing this all internet marketing thing as a whole. Like marketing in general is another good example of going a little too broad. So you do want to have a narrow focus with your book. That also makes it easier for you to write 80 to 100 pages for your book. My book, Content Marketing Secrets, that, I mean, every author is going to say they love their books, but the idea behind that is content marketing. There's more to cover in something like content marketing than YouTube alone. So that's why while my book YouTube Decoded is around 100 pages, Content Marketing Secrets really pushes the envelope towards 300 pages. And that's not the type of book you want to write as book number one. My belief is you just get the book out. You can say you're an author. You have that written content. You have that advanced modern day business card. And then you could build on to, okay, now I write book number two. Now I write book number three. My first book was only like 30 pages and it was called Honest Ways to Make Money Online. So I get that, you know, the title isn't like it's a little sketchy. I get that, but that built into book number two, which was just 18 pages. So that's the type of stuff I don't publish anymore. But the idea is let's just get a win on the board. Let's just get you on the board rather than feeling like you have to put out this colossal like 200, 300 page book. Let's break it down into something smaller, and getting more narrow with your topic allows you to not just do that, but cater to a specific audience. So YouTube Decoded, there's going to be a bunch of YouTubers who want that book. It's not going to be everybody. And that's the point. You don't want to make your books for everybody. The more people you can cross off and say, this book's not for you, this book's not for you, the stronger your book is going to resonate with the target audience who it is for. You just have to get it in front of them, which is what we talk about on this channel. So if you haven't destroyed that like button or subscribed, those are two things you may want to do right now. And when you have this topic, now you just write down all these different ideas that you know about the topic. So for having a successful self-publishing brand, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. There's book marketing, there's knowing what your book is going to do for you so it grows your business, there's collaborating with people, there's a lot of different parts to it. And being able to write a list of all these different ideas that connect with your book topic, that's going to give you the content that turns into 16,000 words, 20,000 words to expand on this even more. You could look at some of your free content. Some people, they'll look at their past blog posts, literally copy and paste them in the book. Sometimes they'll make some changes, but other people, they literally copy and paste the blog posts that they've written into their book. You could also look at YouTube videos that you've done in the past and transcribe them. One thing I really like to do though is I like to get snippets from like a podcast episode or talk about the episode a little bit, because again, like that's part of what do you want your book to be for in relation to your business. So my newer books are going to have like examples and stories from Breakthrough Success, Profitable Public Speaking, and Ditch the Job, which are my 3 podcasts, because that's going to get people to check out those podcasts and see what types of conversations we have about and what topics we cover. And if you have someone who's heavily invested in a book, they're more likely to book that strategy call with you. There are some people who they book a strategy call with me. They don't know my YouTube channel. They don't know my podcast. They don't know anything about me. They just grab my book on Amazon. They see book a strategy call here and they do it. So that's another great thing to think about, connecting with your audience by being intentional with what ideas you cover in the book, what free content you incorporate, and then you've got more than enough to hit 16 to 20,000 words for your book if an 80 to 100 page book is the goal for you. Now, once you have all these ideas in place, the next thing you have to do is just have that structure. So for one of the books I wrote back when I was new to being an author, I wrote it, 3,000 words, stuck. I didn't know how to proceed with it. I realized it wasn't a good fit. It wasn't going to do anything for me. And I stopped it. I scrapped it. And that's what happens when you don't create an outline. You think you can finish the book. You feel like you have enough material, but then you realize, no, this was the wrong book idea. And it's better to realize that when you're creating the outline than when you're 3,000 words into it. So structuring all these ideas into a format that's going to be for the reader. Like if you look at any book, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, the authors don't think about them in that order, but they do surely present them in that order. And the outline just brings everything together, kind of gives you a roadmap. You don't have to write each chapter in order, so you could bounce around. If you feel really passionate about chapter 5, write about chapter 5 first, because that's where the productivity is going to be for you in that moment of time. So you don't always have to write them in order, but having that idea of what your structure is going to look like is going to be huge for your book writing process. And that's pretty much it. You just write at that point. You write one book, you write another book. One thing you could do is, I feel like a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm writing all these books, I have no time to create free content. Make the free content part of your book. So look at your outline, say, okay, this is one of the things I'm going to cover in my book. Let me make that the blog post and then put it in the book later. So that's a way that authors out there who feel like they have to trade off creating free content versus just writing the books, turn some of your book content into the free content and then repurpose it into the book later. Repurposing is going to be your best friend if you are an author who wants to write a ton of books. So you know my book writing process. I'd love to hear in your comments what book writing strategies work for you. And if you have not yet, I'd love if you hit the subscribe button, because I love creating these types of videos. And I think if you want to be a successful author, there's a lot of videos here that can help you. And if you subscribe and hit the bell, you will not miss future uploads. So signing off, dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.